Hi to everybody. If you hear me well and see me, that's fine. You may indicate if you have any problems, your end or my end. I will try to adjust whatever it takes to adjust. Anyway, thank you for taking your time and joining us. I understand that these days this is not easy to find time to learn because our job is to teach, but learning is a part of teaching, as we all know. So yes, hi to you. I can see familiar, yes, not faces, but familiar names. So thank you again for coming through and joining us. And thank you for supporting me. And I know that you've never given up supporting me, and I'm really grateful to you. I may promise that I will never give up learning and sharing what I've learned with you. So this is my job, not only to learn but to share. This is how I see my mission, and this is great that I'm not alone in this world, that I'm with you and we support each other. And today webinar, I'm going to talk about quite a number of things. And before I do, while we are still kind of waiting for some people to join us, I'm going to say a couple of words about why I'm doing this. I've been a night CELT and a CELT tutor for quite a number of years. And let me double check whether people can see me. Yes. I've been a CELTer and a CELT tutor for quite a number of years. And at some point, it occurred to me that being a teacher is not difficult if you know how to do two things. And these two things are to do and how to do things, let alone planning and other things. But the idea here is we all want to be effective. We all want to motivate students. And sometimes we don't know what to do. And on top of this, we don't know how to do things. And hopefully our little webinar today will help you to solve some problems. Maybe for some people that will be a beginning to a new road, and for some people will be a kind of some revision, a rehearsal, and for some people there will be a new start. And CELTA as the course itself is very effective. And once when we did CELTA only face-to-face, I was thinking to myself, face-to-face is what we need. But then technologists said to us, face-to-face can be combined with online courses. Later on, as we know, then pandemic hit, came along, we thought, oh, maybe only alone is a good idea. And then a combination will fit what we need still. And after we, for some reason, we stopped doing CELTA for some time, but it made me think that maybe a CELTA-like course will be as effective. And this webinar will be some ideas from this course that we're starting soon, and I will talk about this CELTA-like course. But anyway, hopefully everybody, whoever wanted to come, is here. And the first thing we need to know when we are thinking about teaching is what we see on the page. We're all teachers and we all have different books and course books, and if we teach in secondary school, books are different there. If we teach in language schools, they are more authentic course books. But anyway, we open a book, it doesn't matter which one, we open a book and we see a page. And on the page, we can see a lesson, we can see a number of lessons, or we can see just a number of tasks. And a good teacher, a kind of qualified teacher, will probably look at the course book, look on the page, and says to herself or to himself, okay, I see this, this, and this. I don't want this, and I'll take this, I'll select this, I'll adjust this, I reject something. So on the page, an effective teacher can see an effective lesson. And once she does this, she knows what to do next. So before we look on the page, we need to see how the system of lessons works in English. So if you go to the first, this is okay. Let me have a look how it works. I need to share it with you, and I don't know whether you see it, what I'm sharing, but maybe not. Let me check with my assistant how to share this with you. Anne, can you come here and help me to share this with the students? Okay, give me a sec. Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you very much. This is me, by the way, and whoever is new here, this is my name, and this is my kind of higher school of linguistics, the educational institute I've been working for quite a number of years. And this is our plan for today, but this is where we are moving on to. Here we can see types of lessons. So before you go to any page and before you want to decide what you want to teach, you need to know for yourself what it takes to plan a lesson. And there are fundamentally two types. There are more types, and we will be talking about these types. But fundamentally, you can see two types: language-based lessons and skills-based lessons. This is the basic for everything. So before you plan what you want to teach, you decide what you are teaching, skills or language. And in skills-based lessons, we have productive and receptive. For productive, it's a speaking and writing lesson. For receptive, it's a reading and writing. And again, coming back to the course book, sometimes you see on one page reading, listening, language, phonology, all kinds of tasks scattered around. And you need to decide what you're teaching. And here we're talking about pure lessons. So if you are teaching a productive speaking, it's a speaking lesson for, let's say, 40 to 50 minutes. It's not just one task. It's a lesson devoted to speaking. And it doesn't take any language or writing or reading unless you need some stages to prepare. But throughout the lesson, your students must speak. If it's a writing lesson, you write there. You don't give them writing task as a homework, and you don't get them to write at home, because we all know how not effective it can be. Remember yourself being a student or a pupil in a class, and your teacher came along saying, okay, your task is, your homework is write this, this, and this. You get home and you think, my God, I don't want to write. I don't know what to write. You pick up your phone and you call your friends, you ask your parents, you say to your dad or to your mom, help me. Or what you do, you copy something today from the internet or from the book. So writing is not a writing for you, because when you write, you need to create, you need to organize your own thoughts into something and put it on paper. So again, writing is not filling gaps, and writing is not a kind of a task where you organize ideas. Writing is when you create something, and there are at least two types of writing: productive and product and process writing. But anyway, writing is a lesson, speaking is a lesson. So moving to productive, you need to do receptive skills. And receptive skills, here we have reading and it's reading and listening. I think I've got a mistake here. Yes. So forget about receptive is reading and listening. It's not writing. Very sorry. It always says that I'm human. So receptive is basically about noticing. We tend to forget this skill when we learn a new language. We need to start by noticing things. Noticing is a skill which is inside and embedded in reading and listening. Not as much in listening, otherwise our ear can notice a lot more than we can imagine. So when we read, and I'm not talking here about, again, reading is a full lesson, about 40 to 50 minutes. And when we read, it doesn't involve reading aloud, or it doesn't involve a kind of reading without any purpose. Reading should be as close to real life as possible. If you think about yourself, reading in real life is enjoyable, isn't it? Anytime we have a minute before we go to bed, or even before classes or after classes or between classes, we have a minute, we read. Not necessarily books we don't like. Sometimes we have to, if we're preparing for some papers. But in most cases, in most of the time, we read for pleasure. And pleasure is enjoyable. Why can't we make reading enjoyable, as real? To make it, we will be talking about how to make reading enjoyable, but as a whole lesson, reading as close to real life as possible, a full lesson devoting to developing this skill. And this skill is to enjoy reading, not to fight it, not to kind of work hard to understand the text. No, this is not reading, this is fighting the language. We're here to make our learning effective, not to fight against the system, but to enjoy the system as much as possible. And reading is the same, and listening is the same. It's where we notice the language, we process it, and we learn to remember something. So later on, we want to transfer these skills into productive skills. So in skills-based lessons, we start with receptive skills and then move to productive skills. And when we kind of plan reading or listening lessons, we do have some speaking tasks at the end, but they're not speaking lessons. Don't confuse them with the speaking lessons. They are speaking tasks. So fundamentally, the first big group, skills-based lessons, productive, receptive, speaking, writing, reading, and listening, is where we need the language. We learn to do something with the language. But to understand and to notice the language, we need some language-based lessons, and because they are connected very closely, and we can't avoid one or the other. So that's why two big types, and the second one for me, I know for many teachers and for many tutors and for many methodological books, language or grammar comes first. I can't agree, or I can't disagree with this. I think that language is our tool. We need language to support our learning. We need grammar to support our learning as users or as teachers. So for me, language-based lessons, they come second. It's up to you to decide whatever is true for you. So in language-based, again, we have kind of three subgroups. Vocabulary, this is language. Phonology, this is language. Of phonetics, this is language. And grammar itself, this is language. Let's start with vocabulary, because if we kind of unfold the layers, the first layer would be vocabulary and phonology, and I tend to teach them together. I know in CELTA courses we do teach them together, vocabulary, and then drilling comes after the meaning, and drilling is phonology. But mind you, you may have phonology lessons on its own when, for example, you teach sentence stress or discourse analysis later, maybe at intermediate or upper intermediate levels, and that's where you need phonology as a full lesson. So here on this system, I'm talking about full lesson. I'm not talking about integrated skills lessons or task-based, not yet task-based lessons or dogma lessons. I'm talking about pure lessons, because this is where we start. We all start there. We can't avoid this. Once I visited Scrivener seminar face-to-face in those days. We could do this, and we talked to him privately after the seminar, and he said to me, I've been dealing with this stuff for years and years, and as the years come and go, I came to believe that every time we move forward, we need to go back to the basics. And the basic here is language, types of lessons, and a kind of system. That's where we start. So let's try Scrivener and again go back to our system. Okay, let me check everything is okay. Vocabulary. Here we have single words, lexical chunks, collocation. There might be others, set expressions or sayings. There might be others, but we're talking about these three subgroups. Single words, not easy to teach, but you take the context, you take the meaning from the context. The meaning of a single word, you take from the context, check in the vocabulary, and only then you teach. When you go for collocations, it's easy. There might be some danger in teaching collocations, because in collocations, some of us tend to teach word by word. This is not true, and you can't separate a collocation and take it into pieces, into words. So you teach a collocation as it is. There's some tendency in teaching lexical chunks like collocations. Again, they're a bit different. Some collocation, only some, are lexical chunks. I'm not going into details here because I'm not doing this course now. I'm just only saying that we have to be aware of the existence of this or that when we teach vocabulary. And again, there are a particular set of stages when we teach vocabulary. Again, it depends whether we go for presentation or test, teach, test, or something else, whether they see the word before we teach it, or whether we teach it, and this is my favorite way, teaching rounded presentation, we teach a word and then we drill it. That's where phonology comes along. Then we put it on the board, so they actually see a word only when we've done hard job, and this is how they remember. Why do you think I believe this? Because when I learn a language, a different language, when I see a word, I don't care about anything else. I want a translation. I see a word, I Google it or I Yandex it today, whatever you like, and I stop paying attention to what my teacher is talking about. That's how a word on a whiteboard before the meaning being exposed to me works. So that's how I prefer to teach. I go through the meaning, then drilling. So kind of your memories, that's kind of working on it. It's a trigger for your memory. And only then I see a word. Other ways are possible, not saying that they are not as good. Okay, moving to grammar. This is our favorite part. For all our teachers, our favorite part is grammar. And when we're talking about grammar, there are kind of 3 types of grammar. And again, when you see grammar on the page, you need to know what you're dealing with. Grammar could be subdivided into tenses, structure, and functions. And teaching grammar, again, should be as enjoyable as using it. Think about yourself. I believe you are advanced learners and advised teachers, if possible to say this, and you enjoy using this language. When you listen or when you watch films, when you listen to the dialects, or when you talk to whoever speaks this language, you enjoy it, and you should. So teaching should be as enjoyable as using grammar. So we don't need to kind of pour everything in one lesson. We need to select. Let's say today we have a grammar lesson for 50 minutes and we're only teaching one particular use of one tense. Let's say present perfect, our favorite, present perfect. And if you take present perfect for, let's say, I don't know, for result. A lot of books have been written dealing with this present perfect for result, and it looks fine on paper, it looks easy on the surface, but then tell me why every level, every book, we deal with this. And still, we come to an advanced level and they still don't know how to use it correctly. There must be something in this. We must be missing something. And this missing is what we need to reconsider. So tenses, let's start with them, is what we need. Give me a second. We need tenses to talk about facts, nothing more. If you think about present simple, I do believe that it's never present and never simple. This is the most difficult tense in the language. But why do we need this tense? When we need to present facts about ourselves, factual information. I'm a teacher, I live in Moscow, I have a family, I live in my country house most of the time, I'm fit. So using present simple, I'm not talking about what I'm doing today, now, or in the nearest future. It's about me. And it was true before today. It is true today, and it will be true in the future. So present simple, giving facts about myself using this tense as a kind of factual information only. If I want to talk about my experience in life, again, my experience, I may use present perfect. Let's say I've been a teacher for 20 years. I've lived in Moscow for all my life, and I've been married for, I'm not saying this. So we need tenses to talk about things that are true. If we want to talk about things that are true about the world, the nature, we can say the water boils at this degree, the world is crazy, or whatever facts we want to present, we use tenses. We don't want any response, or we don't want anything or anybody to answer our facts. So fundamentally, tenses, we need to give facts about us, about the world, about our surrounding, about anything. And it doesn't require any answers, any responses, anything at all. But if you want an answer, or if you want anything, if you want something to be done or something to be responded, we move to functions. And they overlap because some tenses could be functions. Functions, they are tenses. They consider tenses. They have tenses, but they don't work as tenses. For example, if I say, going back to the tenses, I'm giving a seminar, a webinar today. This is now, this is around now, but I don't want any response to this. I don't want any answer from you to this. But let's think about another situation. Let's say I'm calling an office and I want to talk to the secretary, and I need a particular secretary. I don't want to talk to anybody. I need this particular secretary who's been my manager for years and years. So I pick up a phone and I dial the number and they put me through and they say, may I talk to Mary? And may I talk to Mary is the function. I want something to be done. And I am asking for talking to Mary. And this is my number one function. And the other end answers, she's working in the office. And for me, is this a tense or this is a function? This is a function. They use this present continuous to say what? To say no to me. So instead of saying, no, you can't talk to her, which is fundamentally a bit rude, and maybe it's not true, because maybe she can, we don't know. The other end, they use this tense as a function to say no. So this sentence, she's working in the office, saying, no, you can't talk to her because she's busy. And that's why they overlap sometimes, but you need to know. You need to know how to read what you see. And I'm talking metaphorically here, not to read, but you need to interpret what you see. And if you hear, or what you hear, if you hear, I'm doing a webinar and I don't want any response from you, maybe I do, but this is later. When I talk to someone and they're using exactly the same tense, meaning a function, this is a function. And when you see these on the page, you need to identify what you are doing. You need to identify whether you're teaching a tense or a function, because teaching is different. A structure is a bit easier because a structure is a kind of set in stone, let's say as big as, or as expensive as. You can't change the structure. You can only change the time in the past or today or in the future, but it stays the same. So again, the structure can be taught differently from a function or a tense, because you change the tense and everything is changing in a minute, in an instant. So you say, I was born. You can't say I'm born. Well, actually you can if it's a narrative. But if you say, okay, I'm a teacher, or I was a teacher, completely different. You can't actually say I was a teacher because you need to add time when, but completely different. But if you say as expensive, it was as expensive as this hotel was as expensive as this one, and this hotel is expensive as this one, the structure is the same. It's only about the time. So teaching is a bit different. So fundamentally, types of lessons is a kind of language system. What you can see on the page, I open the window a bit, it's getting kind of stuff a little bit. Types of lessons you need to know, and you only need to know them because when you open the page, you need to see what is there. Not a set of exercises, not a set of tasks, but a lesson. And from the page, if you decide to do a reading, you need your tasks to develop a reading, to plan a reading. And you have to kind of reject the other tasks. You have to select what you need. In order to select, you need to know what you need. And to know what you need, go back to our types of lessons. Again, as I said, there are others, but we start here. And now let's move to the next one. Okay, that's what we're talking about. Functions are in the middle. We have structures and tenses, they overlap. And to know what to teach, you need to know before you teach. You need to analyze for yourself. And this is how it works. It's actually easy to remember. It's easy to kind of learn what lessons we have. It's not as easy to practice. And that's why Salto-like course we are kind of introducing to our students will be about teaching as well. So you will be teaching. We will be teaching you first, all types, all stages in every lesson, and then you will be practicing. You will be videoing yourself and send us your video link. We will analyze it and then give you feedback. And that's how we learn. That's how we learn and sell the courses. Okay, let's move on. Let me get to the next. Okay, no, I'm not getting to the next slide. As we talked about teaching vocabulary and teaching language, let's go back here. Okay, in language-based lessons, in teaching vocabulary and teaching grammar, there are different approaches. And I've got a different webinar and a different masterclass on, again, fundamental 4 approaches. So I'm not going into this direction because it takes a lot. And I can't put everything in the mix, and on one plate shouldn't be everything in one go. But another, or maybe next step to be effective, there's another skill. And this skill we call eliciting. Eliciting is a skill when you don't give and you don't explain. You basically get them to guess by supporting them with a good context and providing them with good questions, and you get them to guess. And I'm going to give you a minute to look at what I do before I come to teach one particular structure. So if you look at this table, you can see my target language, assumptions, form, phonology, concept, and associated language. Take a minute to look at this, and we are planning to go through in details. You can take a picture, or I guess you will be send this presentation to, I guess, I don't know. Okay, let's imagine my next lesson with my students is a language lesson, and I will be actually teaching them a structure. And this structure is in the middle. And I know that I will be a kind of going through eliciting process, but I want you to look before I elicit. I want you to look at my planning stage. My planning stage, this is what I do. Maybe not with every structure or every lesson, or every maybe tense, but with particular structures and particular functions. This is what I do at my planning stage. My target language. Target language is the language you teach. And target language is bigger than one sentence. Target language can involve many sentences. But from this target language, I take one sentence that I call a marker sentence. I mark this sentence and I take it to teach. So my target language is a kind of passive present continuous. I don't know, I'm not good with labels, but actually we don't need any labels here. So this is my target language. And my marker sentence is I'm having my car repaired. Then I assume that I will teach this at upper int level. So you can see at the right, top right corner, or maybe top left for you. I will teach this to upper int level, not before, because it's not easy to kind of reconsider the previous thinking about passive plus continuous. I assume that my students have already known or been introduced to passive voice and continuous aspect. Continuous is the next aspect. This is not a tense. And I understand that my students may confuse this with I'm doing it, or my car is being repaired, which is again a bit different, and we'll go back to this. This is what I assume, and I put in the circle my assumptions, not to forget to check. Then I have the form, and I have the structure, and the form of the structure I'm not going through because you can see it. You have a subject, then you have is are, because you can't change this. It's not about were or was, so you put here something you don't change. Then you have having. You can't change this, and then you have object and past particle. This is how the form works. Then phonology. I need to work on the sentence stress, and this is where my students may decide that this is not easy. When we go through the phonology, what do we stress? We stress content words, or we don't stress them. So you need to know what you stress. For example, if you have here, I am, we don't stress them. My car repaired, yes. Having, yes, but not before. So you need to drill the right stress. Maybe difficult sounds. Maybe some constructions here. So you need to kind of think about what might be difficult for them to pronounce. Then again, associated language. My car is repaired. This is a bit different from I'm having my car repaired. They do look similar, but they're actually not. And once I've done this at my planning stage, I come to you to teach. And here I may say, my lovely car, I love it. But sometimes I think maybe I need to change something in my car. And now I've saved enough money to change my seats because I want leather seats. And I want a new music box. So, do I do it myself? No, I can't. Are these changes for the better? Yes. Did I take my car to the garage because it was damaged? Or I bumped into someone? No. I wanted to change my car for the better. Do I need to change something, still kind of repair it? Yes, in a way, because they fix it. They take the old ones and replace with the new ones. So the kind of repair, there's one word, but not because it's been in the car accident. So Is my car in my yard? No, I've taken it to the garage. So why? Because they're doing some changes at the moment. Was it my decision? Yes. Am I paying money for this? This is important. Yes, I'm paying money for this. And in this kind of whole idea, who is the focus of this situation? Me or the car? Me. I've decided, I've saved money, I wanted leather seats and a new music box. This is quite informal, so it's not that what I say to my probably, but this is what I'm saying to my husband when I can't give him a lift. So, if you want to say what happened to my car at the moment, my last question to you would be, can I use my car now? No, why not? Because I'm having my car repaired. And again, concept checking questions, this is the last box, they are really crucial here. And to ask correct concept checking questions, you need to write the concept for yourself at the planning stage. And the first one is something is going through around now, some changes for the better, because this structure is to deal with the changes for the better. I'm not doing them, but I'm paying money for this. And I'm the focus because it was my decision, quite informal. My car is being repaired. Maybe it's not about me. Maybe I'm not paying money. Maybe it wasn't my decision. So it's about my car. Maybe my husband decided to do this and I'm reporting the facts and my car is being repaired. But if I'm having my car repaired, me, decision, money, changes for the better. This is how I would approach and elicit the structure from you. Then I drill it and I put it on the whiteboard. This is the whole process of eliciting. And once you've elicited, and this is in the middle of your language lesson, you start with there are some stages of a lesson. I'm not going through the stages, but inside every language lesson is eliciting. And it doesn't matter what approach you take, eliciting is there. Let's move on and see what is next. Okay, next, the context. The context is real, personalized, and your target language should fit naturally. It's memorable and engaging for the student. It should generate some interest. For example, even if you forget the structure I've just taught to you, you may remember my car, my husband, the money I was paying. So somehow from this, you may jump to the actual structure. And the actual structure is I'm having my car repaired. But the context is everything here. The context is where you start. And this is what gives them this meat of the language, because we can only fit your language into the context. But you can read it later. Okay, let's move on. Concept checking questions to the concept are vital. It's a particular skill, and every lesson and every lesson during our course, we teach, we practice, and we work with the concept checking questions because, again, as I said, they are embedded in every lesson. And again, even when you're teaching receptive, maybe not productive skills, but receptive skills, they're there because we will be looking at some stages at reading lesson. You will see that eliciting is there. Okay, so you can read it this late. I'm not taking. Okay, we still have time for everything. We are moving into a typical procedure for a receptive skills lesson, and A typical procedure starts with a lead-in and finishes with a kind of productive task. Let's look at this. This is a kind of schematic of what we're doing. Okay, this is good. Typical procedure for receptive skills lesson. We start with the lead-in, and this is here. The aim of the lead-in is to set the right context, because lead-in and setting the context fundamentally can be one stage. In some cases, you separate them if your lead-in is difficult to connect straight to the text. But in many cases, your lead-in is your context. Some teachers may confuse a warmer and a lead-in. A warmer is outside the lesson. It's not the lesson itself yet. Because a warmer, you need to warm them. You need to switch them on and off. Think about your students. They come to your classes. If you work in a secondary school, the previous lesson could be chemistry or physics or physical training. And they come to your lesson, to your English lesson, loaded with experience of doing something before. And you need to do something to switch them off what they had before onto your lesson. That's why you need a warmer. It could be a song, it could be just a physical exercise, it could be anything, and not necessarily connected to the lesson. But your lead-in or your context is closely connected to the lesson. And this is crucial. And again, when let's imagine this is a reading lesson, and you're reading, you need a text. We talked about that your text should be as enjoyable and as real as in real life. To make your text enjoyable, even if it's boring. So, okay, let me rephrase it. Any text could be as enjoyable as boring. One text could be as. It's up to you to decide what to do. If the text by itself is lovely, don't spoil it by boring tasks. But if the text is boring, you need to make your tasks enjoyable and engaging and doable, of course. So let's imagine your text on the page is a guide to a national gallery in Edinburgh. They love this kind of texts. They put them everywhere, and sometimes we don't know what to do with them. We just read them aloud, which is not. We don't permit this in our type of teaching. So, a guide to National Gallery in Edinburgh. Think about if you don't provide your students with any context. You say to them, okay, read this and get the main idea. This is what the book says. And your students, they are in another country. They are not thinking about National Gallery. They are not ready for this. They have no idea what Edinburgh is or where it is. They don't like pictures. They don't want to talk about pictures or to read about them, only because they're not ready. So you need to put them in a situation where they are real tourists. And your lead-in is not about traveling, because it's not close enough. Your lead-in is about being or visiting in a gallery. You can put them in pairs. A lead-in in most cases is kind of pair work, save time and to boost confidence. And you put them in pairs and say, okay, remember, whether you've been to any national gallery, how you decide what where to go or what to watch. If you think about National Gallery in Paris, Louvre, or in some pits. You can't kind of go to every hall, or you can't go to every room, or you can't see everything. You need to decide. So you take a guide, you look it through, and you have a minute before you buy a ticket, because some exhibitions are for money. You need to decide where to go. So rely on the experience. Ask them to maybe remember how they choose, or maybe remember how, or maybe talk about how other people choose what to see there if they get to the place. Put them in pairs or in groups and get them close to the context. And this is your lead in. Then in this case you need a context setting stage, and here a context setting stage would be saying, okay, you are tourist, you are Edinburgh, this is your second day, and you are there for 3 days, so you don't have enough time for everything, and this is about a couple of hours for you to spend in this gallery. You won't be coming back if you like something. So you've got 5 rooms in this guide. You have 5 rooms to decide what to watch, what to choose. You can't go for 5, you can go only for 1. But to decide which one, you need to go through 5. How real is the context? Quite real. You will put them actually in the queue. You know, sometimes, sorry, I do believe, give me a moment. I do believe that sometimes physical exercise, even at some stages, they may help. You may say to them, okay, stand up, you are in the queue with the guide, and I put the music on as a kind of your queue is getting along, and you've got a minute before you pay. So within this minute, you go through the guide, 5 little rooms, choose one. Real, and at the same time, you're not putting a lot of pressure on them. You're just saying, you don't say to them, read every word. You don't say to them, choose only after you've read everything. Some slow students may just find one page or find one room, read it and say, okay, I want this one. It's up to them to decide what to choose. You can't control this. Of course, you want them to go through the whole text and to choose one, but it's up to them. That's making it real. That's what I call make it real. Okay, then this is we actually move to a GIST task, which is on the next page. So this is GIST task. GIST task is when you get your student to read something quickly and you give them a real task. Give them a task like kind of doing a job, read a text and find the main idea. They can't do it. Let's go back and see. We skipped some stages for a purpose. Pre-teach vocabulary. There must be something they need to know. You only pre-teach something which is key. You don't pre-teach something which is difficult or you don't understand or maybe you like. You pre-teach something, this is what is key to their understanding, might be an obstacle to their understanding or something they need to complete the tasks later. This is your vocabulary. And again, you can go for eliciting here. Remember we were talking about eliciting technique and how important it might be. Then in some stages there might be prediction, but in this text predicting would be impossible because when you go for a prediction task, they may predict something which is real for them, and you put the predictions on the whiteboard, and the prediction can't be like 10 points. It's either 2 or 3. So then they read to decide what prediction was more correct. But in this case, prediction won't work because if you've never been there, how can you predict? No prediction. So that's how you decide again, prediction or no prediction. Prediction is a gist task. You can't have them both at the same time. You either predict and then read to check, and prediction is a gist task, or you go for a gist task and you set the task yourself. You don't get them to predict. And again, on the page, you can see a prediction task, then a gist task, and then another task with the pictures in order. So if you know the stages, you can select, and you understand that you don't need to read 3 times for gist, for the main idea. There's only one reading. But specific information task could be 1 or 2 or even 3. Some tasks are good for inference, some tasks are good for details, some tasks are only good for some specific information. So you look at the text and you decide what you want. And again, on the page, there might be everything. And I'm not saying that the book is wrong. I'm only saying that the book is there for you, not to be driven by the book, but to decide what you want to teach. Because on one page, they may put a lot of lessons. They could be reading, then listening, and then language. And if you don't know the system, you may decide that, okay, I will teach all these 3 in one go. This is also possible if the text is for language or listening is for language, but this is another type. If we're talking about a pure reading lesson, so you go for a reading lesson. Let's see what we have next. Okay. Next task is response to the text task, and this is where we kind of want their opinion on the text. We want them to share, not yet the experience, because there would be another task. We want them to share what they think about the pictures, not whether they like the reading or not, whether they like what they think about the pictures. And if they have decided to go to this room to see these pictures, why? And whether after they've done the full reading and intensive reading, their first choice for this room was right. So you want them to respond to the text. So, and the last task here could be kind of, again, sharing their experience as a kind of framing type of a lesson. You start with what they know and you finish with what they've learned. We call it a kind of lesson. And if you have time, let's see what we have here. In some lessons, you may have some time or some need for the following: language follow-up and content follow-up. Not talking in great details about the stages, because we're moving into integrated lessons here, and this is not our purpose. I'm only giving it to you because in some books, many reading lessons, they're followed by language follow-up. And sometimes, yes, you may want them to kind of draw their attention to this particular structure, because this particular structure, they need to talk and to reflect on the topic. And this is fundamentally what you need to know about a reading lesson. And every lesson is about stages. You know the stages, you may find the task to fit the stages, and you're fine. Your lesson is effective, your students are engaged to follow your tasks, and they're not bored, the lessons are not boring. This is what we need. Okay. Do you have any questions? Let me have a look. Not yet, only hello, and here you go. Okay. Anyway, you may ask me personally in my Instagram, or you can write to us through our Telegram channel. So feel free, promise to answer, maybe not immediately, but promise to give me. Okay, let me check. Maybe they've got. Okay, I've got some questions. Fundamentally, okay. Oh, right. This webinar is a kind of a part of what we do during the course. And if you want to come and study with us, there will be 2 modules in one course. And these modules will be a combination of face-to-face and online. Seldom is about 30 input sessions. So we decided to do the same. There will be 30 online sessions plus face-to-face meetings, and then there will be some assignments, some tasks, real lessons with the students. We provide the students. There will be absolutely Salto-like feedback, and during our feedback people cry, and if there are people who've done Salto with me or with Mike or with other tutors, say that I'm right. And we will be doing this course, and we've been thinking about doing this course, and it's taken us a lot of time and energy to put everything together. And now we're kind of launching it for you, and feel free, because if you're here, and there will be a group of 6 students only, you will get a discount and you will get your other benefits. And ask me in my Telegram channel and my Instagram personal questions. Happy to answer. We will be doing more webinars for free. So if you can't come to the course for whatever reason you have, there will be more masterclasses and webinars. But hopefully I will see some of you, because we're launching this particular course I'm talking about, on the 5th of September with the school. And it's not just a school. We've been a Cambridge Centre for more than 20 years. We're still a Cambridge Centre. We're not launching any South and other Cambridge courses at the moment. That's why we're launching our own courses. But it will be absolutely the same format and the same qualified tutors. And if you stay with us, you may get not only a certificate of completion, but you may get a diploma, because we are kind of educational body. We can get a diploma which is accepted everywhere, and today, to be a teacher, we need a diploma. Before the diploma, we need good knowledge, and this is what we're here to provide. So thank you. Do I have anything else? No, this is the last slide. Thank you very much for staying for so long with me. Thank you for your support, and see you next time. Bye-bye.